All right, so welcome to the GenZone podcast. We're starting to do a little bit more of these, and you guys are enjoying them. So I thought we might as well bring on one of my favorite guests. His name is Thomas. He has an amazing YouTube channel where he goes over everything Dubai, and even he started off coding, and that's how he really grew his following. So in this podcast, we're going to go over what it's like to run a business in Dubai, taxes all over the world, and just our general opinion on a bunch of different things that I think are really relevant. And if anything interests you in this podcast, whether it's business setup, taxes, residency, banking, book a call using the link down below. Either me or my business partner, Cheyenne, would love to get on a call with you to discuss further. So Thomas, obviously you moved to Dubai. When did you actually really start to make money? Because that's not something that I've seen you talk too much about online.
Yeah, I haven't really talked about this. I think I made my first dollar online in 2022, and I moved to Dubai in 2023. It sort of all happened very, very quickly. So essentially, before I had this YouTube channel that you're watching right now, I had and I still have a coding-related YouTube channel that ended up becoming the first sort of successful online business that I've had. I started that channel in January of 2022, and it pretty much blew up almost instantly. And I started getting sponsorships, things like this. And at some point I started selling my own coding courses and all that kind of stuff. And that really, it really took off like the beginning of 2022. And towards the end of 2022, it had taken off to the point where I started my tax bracket go up like really, really quickly. So then I started wondering, I was living in UK at the time, okay, is it really worthy for me to be paying this 40% tax? I was seeing like with national insurance and everything, I think it was reaching like marginal rates of 50% plus. So I was like, okay, the weather here kind of sucks. All the services, everything's not really that good anymore. Crime is going up, everything like that. So I started looking at options in the world. And for various reasons, I ended up deciding on Dubai out of all the options that I saw.
And actually, one thing that I always wondered, because I actually never asked you this, did you ever travel to Dubai before moving here? No, eh?
No, I did not. I did not.
So you just said, okay, my business is doing really well. I'm making a lot of money, but I could keep, double the amount of money if I just went to Dubai, if I traveled to Dubai. So that's literally what you did. So your first time here was your first time, ever.
Correct. I mean, I had a very good idea of what kinds of places I like. I know I like warm weather, I like sunshine, I like sort of a modern, forward-looking kind of city. And the more research I did, Dubai seemed like exactly the kind of place that I think I would enjoy. So I was like, okay, let me just start the process, everything. If I go to Dubai and then I end up hating it, I mean, I can always just cancel it and go back. I didn't think there was a high probability of that happening. So I was like, okay, let me just go forward. It seems like it would be the right place for me. And yeah, I arrived there in January of 2023. And I arrived for the purpose of setting up, I had set up my company before online. And then I arrived there specifically to do the medical test and Emirates ID application and everything like that. And at the same time as well, I was like checking out the city for the first time.
Yeah. And one thing you mentioned is you could just cancel it if you needed to, right? It's not a huge commitment. If you set up a business in Dubai and you find out, oh, maybe I don't want to live in Dubai. Well, maybe live in Dubai for that 1 year, tax-free for that 1 year. And then sure, you could leave after that year if you wanted. But from experience, I've set up over 400 companies for people. And it's very rare for people to shut down their companies.
Yeah.
For us, at least, it's not even 5% of the clients that set up with us. They don't even shut down the companies. It's only 5% that might consider it. But then they think, oh, well, if I went back to Canada or if I went back to the UK, I'd have to pay this amount in taxes. And then they come back to me and say, Kevin, never mind. I'm not shutting down my company in Dubai. I'll stay here. It does not make sense to go back. So the same reasons why they came here are the same reasons why they don't go back.
Exactly.
Which is pretty funny.
And it's like, even if you set up a Dubai company, you can still run that company from wherever you go. Like, let's say you decide like, oh, actually, I'd like to move to Thailand. You can still run that Dubai company from Thailand. It's probably better than setting up a Thailand company anyway.
100%.
So yeah, the only thing you do before is setting up the company. If you then don't want to get the residence visa, you don't have to do that. But like, trust me, when you come to Dubai, you're not going to want to go back to your Western country. That's very unlikely.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a good point. Like, you can travel. You don't have to stay in Dubai all year round. You can stay here for, the minimum is 3 months. We do suggest stay as much time as you can, but minimum is 3 months. You can go to Thailand. You can go to Indonesia. You can go to whatever country you want and still be tax-free as long as you don't trigger tax residency somewhere else, which in most cases, it's spending over 6 months there. In your home country, it might be a different story. because of ties. But in most cases, if you just spend 3 months in Dubai and then travel around the world, you're fine, right? So it's pretty flexible. You don't have to get married here and stay here the entire year. Okay. Although a lot of my clients that, you know, I get on calls with, they're always like, yeah, I just want to go to Dubai for 3 months and then I'm going to go to Thailand. And I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah, you can do that. No problem. I call them a few months later. They're like, yeah, actually, we're not going anywhere. We're staying in Dubai. We love it so much. Yeah. And that's usually what happens here because it's so convenient and all that stuff, you know. It's so nice to live here. The only time that I don't like Dubai is in the summer. And I think everyone can agree with it. It's pretty hot. So that's when most people do travel.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly the life I live. That's what I talk about on this channel. Dubai, my sort of winter home, or like home for 7-8 months. The rest of the year, I also really like Asia for a lot of different reasons. I think they're a really good mix. So that when Dubai is too hot, you just leave. And then when I leave, I start missing Dubai. I start missing the convenience and everything. And then I just come back and I remember all the reasons why I like being here.
So this is actually a good question I have for you. So you set up in Dubai, you live in Dubai, but you still travel around the world. What is the city you hate the most to live in, at least?
The city I would least like to live in? I don't know. I mean, I'd probably not want to live in North Korea or something like that. But
okay, countries you've traveled to. From all the countries you've ever traveled to, which one is the one you don't like?
I like the least. I really don't want to go back to the UK in the state that it is right now. I don't know if it's my least favorite. But I'm also the kind of person where I like novelty to the sense. Like if I've been in a place for a long time, like it starts to bore me and I want to experience something different. And for that reason alone, I don't think I'd ever go back to Finland. I don't think I'd ever go back to the UK. Those are the 2 countries I've lived in. I'd probably not go anywhere in Northern Western Europe. I just want to stay. I'm generally quite anti-Europe right now. Like everything there, like whatever problems there are in like Western countries, they're like especially bad in places like the UK, like a lot of countries there. The attitudes, everything there are just like very anti-business, very like completely opposite to what I am, who I am as a person. So like, I'd probably least want to be anywhere in like Northern Western Europe right now. I don't know exactly what is the exact city. That's
just the general area. Stay away from that area.
Stay away from here.
Got it. Okay. I mean, fair enough. And you know, a lot of people definitely agree with you. That's why they're moving from those countries to Dubai, right? So you're not alone thinking that. But I mean, you did leave the UK pretty quickly before you came to Dubai. And do you regret anything? Is there anything that you think, maybe I should have done this instead, or maybe I should have done this at a later date, or do you think you did everything right in time?
I think I did everything right at the correct time. So I started a full-time corporate job in London in September of 2022. I ended up moving out in January of 2023. Now, before that, I had lived in London for like 3, almost 4 years for university. But then I went back to Finland and I went back to the UK. And as soon as I went back to the UK, I pretty much just left straight away. I pretty much did everything right at the correct time because this was just the time when my income was growing for the first time in my life. I had no idea whether this is going to continue, whether my income is going to continue at this level. So I sort of waited a couple of months to like make sure that this is actually something that like an income level that I can sustain. And then I went. I don't wish that I moved any later. I mean, in hindsight, it's easy to say like, oh, I wish I moved right away. But when you're in that situation where my income was just growing for the first time in my life, like I didn't yet have I sort of had to wait a bit of time to have the confidence to like make a move like this to a totally different country. But like since I haven't regretted.
I mean, anything. That's what most people do. Most people, they start to generate money and then they're like, okay, I'll start to think about moving to places where I can save money in taxes. And then later they do it. They don't just jump right away because it's not that realistic. Maybe the income next month is not that strong, right? Now, with that being said, talking about money and taxes, do you think that anyone should pay 50% in taxes in any case?
No, there's no reason to do that. There's just no reason to do that in today's world. That might have been worth it like 10 years ago when there were much more limited options in terms of the places you have access to. What I always look at is the value relative to cost, where cost includes both taxes and the cost of living, of course. 10 years ago, there weren't that many countries that were amazing where you could pay like close to 0% tax or something like that. So you really had to make a decision like, okay, I'm paying all these taxes, but living in the UK helps me make so much more money that is worth it. In today's world, many people still think that that is the reality. Like, oh, the West is the only place where I can make money, so it's worth it for me to pay these taxes. But the number one thing I always try to say, like in today's world, that is not true anymore. You can get amazing value, much better value than you can get in your Western country anywhere for a much lower price. So there's like almost no reason, like there's almost zero cases where it makes sense to pay that much money unless you really, really like, oh, I just really love Finland and I'm never going to leave. Like, sure, obviously, if you really, really think that and you actually consider the options, like you can do whatever you want. If it works for you, amazing. But I just don't see any scenario where it would be worth it for me to do that in this world with the options that we have available.
Yeah, I agree with you. Plus, like on today's topic, where you know about running a business in Dubai, there's no disadvantage about running a business here in Dubai. It's only advantages.
Yeah.
It's only easier to do business. Banking is really good here. The company's setup process is pretty seamless. Do you think there's any disadvantage of doing business in Dubai? Because I've seen people online talk about, oh, in Dubai, you know, people think that you're a scammer. So if you set up a business in Dubai, you'll be seen as a scammer. Do you think that this is actually like a real thing that people, you know, perceive?
Perceptions always lag reality. Perhaps again, if you go back 10, 5 years, that might have been the case, like, oh, Dubai attracted like certain kinds of people. It's not really the case anymore, but certain people are still going to have that perception. But like personally, I haven't seen that ever. Like no one's like been weirded out about me having a UAE company or something. I think now it's like people understand like, okay, Dubai is it's a business city. Like there's a lot of very serious, successful, legit entrepreneurs there. The only like downside that I've seen, like I had an issue when I was charging customers via the Stripe account of my UAE company, and the cards were declined at much higher rates versus charging them from like, I don't know, a UK, like a Western company. But I mean, that's easy to overcome. I just set up a US LLC as a payment processor. I've made videos about this before. And obviously, if you use GenZone services, you can help them set that up as well. There's like very small niche things like these that are very easy to fix. And like within a couple of years, even that's not really going to be an issue. Other than that, I'm struggling to think of any downsides that I've seen from being in like the business business side.
Yeah, I agree. Like honestly, that's a good point. And even I forget about it because to be honest, we set up our own US LLC as well for payment processing. And after we did that, that's not even an issue anymore. It's, you know, totally fixed. So receiving payments in Dubai is easy. Doing business in Dubai is easy. Setting up a business in Dubai is easy. And the best part is if you do business here, you're keeping literally 2 times the amount of money you would keep if you were in a Western country. So for people to stay in the UK or in Canada or in any country, Finland, whatever, it doesn't make any sense, to be honest. Unless, again, like you said, they really, really, really love the country and they have to live there. Then, okay, I understand, you know. But if that's not the case and you're willing to travel around the world and even just spend a minimum of 3 months per year in Dubai, then consider it. It definitely makes sense. On that point, talking about taxes, talking about money, do you think that Dubai is only for rich people? Because I hear this all the time.
No. I mean, okay, I do get where it's coming from because it's the kind of place where luxury is very in your face. Like people, like you see success, money around you a lot. And I think especially people who haven't actually been in Dubai, that's the side of Dubai you see on social media. Like in social media, like Dubai has this like image, like it's just a place where you go to flex and whatever. But because that's the only part of Dubai you see, if you're outside of Dubai, then it's easy for you to assume like, okay, it's just the place where you show off, you have your supercars, and like it's not possible to be there if you don't have money. Now, I will say you do need to have money if you're here, as in like it's not as cheap as Thailand or something like that. But all you have to do is go, like, not live in one of the most expensive areas, and you can live like probably for much cheaper than you would live in any of your Western cities, wherever you're coming from. And this is what people don't realize. They think you need to have $1 million to have a life in Dubai, where really it's a very normal price city. Like obviously it's a top tier city in the world, so it has the pricing of the price levels of a top tier city, but it's not like anything crazy. If anything, it's much lower than most Western cities. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it is. If you really look at the numbers, it's a lot cheaper than living in like Toronto. And like this is just on a surface level outlook. Like if you take into consideration taxes, it's a lot cheaper to live, you know, in Dubai than in any other country. And you know, whenever I travel back to Canada and I meet people and they're like, "Where do you live?" I'm like, "Oh, I live in Dubai." They're like, "Oh, you live in Dubai? Oh my God, you're so rich!" Like, there's just a perception of you have to be rich to live in Dubai when, like you said, it's not the case. it's actually cheaper to live in Dubai. It's cheaper to do a lot of things in Dubai. Renovate a house or buy a car. That might be on the same level, but go out to dinner. That's a lot cheaper. Whenever I go out to dinner here, till this day, after 3 years, I still look at the menu and I'm like, in Canada, if I was out for dinner, this price would be in dollars instead of dirhams. Yeah. Right. So that's something that always blows my mind. Is like, oh, wow, it's actually really reasonable to live in Dubai. It's not expensive at all.
And if you know where to look, there's actually a lot of discounts. For example, when it comes to eating, like if you use the food delivery app, there's always like 50% offers. I can pretty much exclusively use these things. If you're going out to eat, there are these apps where you can get discounts. Like I'm making a separate video on this, but like you can actually live very affordably if you just like put in like a bit of effort to like find like, okay, where are the discounts and everything like this. But just the regular prices, they're much lower than you would find in pretty much any Western city, at least in my experience.
Yeah, for sure. But I agree with you. Like you can come to Dubai and you can spend as much money as you want. Like the wealth is in your face. You cannot go outside the house and not see a Lambo. I always say that to anyone who asks me about Dubai. They're like, what is it like to live in Dubai? I'm like, well, imagine every time you leave the house, you see a Lambo, G-Wagon, Ferrari, Corvette. And if you don't see that, then you did not leave your house. That's literally what it is. But in reality, it's not that expensive to live here. I don't know who those people are driving every single day and they're everywhere, but there's a place for everyone here. For sure.
An interesting thing that does, it makes you realize that it's possible to be really successful when you see all this success around you. Just in our building, like in our building where I live, when we go to get the car from our car park, we counted one time with my girlfriend, we counted 22 supercars that we went past just on our way of our car park, just in this one building where I live. And I'm like, okay, if all these people in this very same building where I live have done this, have achieved this success, then why can't I do it too? Whereas if you're in a place like Southeast Asia, which I also like for a lot of other reasons, like when I was in Southeast Asia for 6 months, I pretty much wasn't thinking about money making, like building a successful business, these kind of things that much, because you don't see around you and it's so cheap that you don't really need to make money anyway. But Dubai sort of pushes you because you see all this success around you. It sort of motivates you to keep going. And I think that thing alone has made me so much more money.
100%.
Yeah,
I agree with that so much. That's so true. When you that's a problem with people choosing a place to live.
Yeah.
If you choose to live in Dubai or if you choose to live in Bali, your outcome will be totally different. Even let's say you move to both places and you're making 100K per month or whatever, 100K per year, let's say, and you go to Dubai, I would bet my money that the Dubai person would end up making a lot more money than the person who moves to Bali, even if it's the exact same person. Yeah. Because you get kind of complacent if you live in a place like Indonesia, where there isn't money in your face like that. It's just kind of like a chill, laid back lifestyle. Nothing wrong with that. But if you want more, then put yourself in a position where you see more and you want to make more because of that. I 100% agree with that. That's such a good point. Like I always tell people, if Dubai had taxes, I pray to God it never has, real taxes. But if Dubai had taxes, I would still move here because of the fact that I would make a lot more money doing more business and growing more as a person. So yeah, I 100% agree with you. But how was Bali? Do you think you could ever live there like long term, or is it just like a vacation spot for you?
I really like Bali as well. I was there twice, actually. The first time, I didn't like it as much, but the second time, I was able to avoid some of the problems, like the traffic, all this kind of stuff, because I was aware of them. Bali was one of the favorite places I went to in Southeast Asia. I know a lot of people don't like it because it's too much of a vacation vibe. Would I live there full time now at this stage of life? Probably not, because it would make me way too chilled out and I would just like pretty much plateau for the rest of my life probably. But it's a great, like what I see is like, it's a great place to go to for a few months to like chill out. Yeah. And then you're ready to really like work hard again. Like you can go back to Dubai. Like that's really my plan. I'm going to be Dubai, like fully like in business mode, like trying to make as much money as possible. And then in the summer, I can go to a place like Bali, Thailand to like chill out. And that's sort of a good mix for me, because as much as Dubai pushes me for more, it's probably not like the mode that I want to be in always, like all of the time. So for me, I like sort of mixing these different vibes throughout the year. And obviously the great thing, if you're making money from anywhere, you can choose whatever vibes you want. And you don't just have to choose one. You can spend some time in this kind of vibe, some time in this kind of vibe. But yeah, Bali overall, probably not for me now. If I was more in like retirement mode, which I don't know if I ever want to retire fully, but if I was in that kind of mode, it would be great. But it's a great place to like chill out for a bit of time, recharge, and then you're ready to go again.
So that's going to wrap up the podcast. I think we spoke enough. We wasted enough of their time. Just kidding. They enjoyed it. And if you guys have any questions, of course, book a call using the link down below. And if you want a step-by-step guide on exactly how to set up your business in Dubai, I've made literally hundreds of videos about this. You can watch this one right here. It should cover everything. And if it doesn't, again, book a call. I'd be happy to answer all of your questions.